Hello everyone and welcome to the Anime Zelia, and thank you for joining me as we talk about the Thorn for Summoning and the Closure arcs from the Tower of God webtoon series. A few crazy sets of arcs that showcase a lot of action, drama and wholesomeness. Yep, we gotta get that in. As we have the likes of Endorsi taking on that character that was given to us in the last set of arcs known as Mad Dog. Bam gained the needle to kill the king, and the trio of Bam, Kun and Rex finally meet after so long. They get their reunion. So first things first, I want to talk about Beta. This character was absolutely fantastic. The skills that he displayed here were really cool and unique, and this character in general gave off some jaw-dropping moments. The pages in where they gave us some backstory to Beta's character, in where he was forced to kill his friends / people he may have considered family, really hit you in the feels when reading it. It made you want to feel a bit sympathetic towards that character. The raw emotion and the mixture of emotions that were displayed, whether that was ranging from anger, hatred, sadness and resentment, felt really strong and impactful when coming across while reading these arcs. Beta's character displayed so much emotion and all of it came across fantastically. And the reason as to why I bring this up is because it brings a layer of dramaticness and hype to the chapters that we're reading, making every scene with Beta feel something different, whether that's crazy highlights and jaw-dropping moments or overwhelming fear for the main characters. I found myself reading some of the chapters and pages and going, I don't see how they're going to win this. Or whether they're trying to make you sad for the character himself by giving you that backstory that really tries to attack you in the feels. The only downside to Beta's character that I thought personally was the giant feet that kept kind of appearing out of his body. I don't know why, but visually that just didn't do a lot for me and it just made me feel a bit awkward while reading it. Nevertheless though, this character was a true highlight from these arcs. I'm really excited to see which direction they're going to take Beta in next. However, there was talks about him only having a month or 2 months to live, so that might be a bit of a shame. But that being said, I don't think this is the last we've seen of our cool boy in a red hat and a suit. I have to admit though, his clothing choices are awesome. And speaking of highlights, one thing I really have to bring up again is the writing and creativity that was brought to the table in every single chapter and page. The thing that really surprised me was the summoning arc, in where they had to summon Bam from the items category. Because he now had gained the needle by this point, and he was both considered an item and a human, making it so that they can summon him from both places, giving Foog the switcheroo and the, tricking them basically. And this was fantastic. This bit of story writing, I fell for it, and I'm glad the members of Foog did as well. And while we're on the topic of story writing, I thought that the pacing of the different segments and the time that was allocated to each segment in the way they were split up worked really well and effectively, and gave enough time to each character and segment that made it not feel rushed or forced in any way. So I thought the flow of each arc was consistent, and yet it was also very much presented and displayed nicely. Don't know why I kind of stumbled there. One criticism I had, however, of the story writing, just in general, was some panels had a lot of text in it. And for me personally, I found it a little bit too heavy at times. So there were some instances where I just had to kind of skim over it and then pick out the key important parts. However, that is the only criticism I have of the story writing. Apart from that, it was all excellent. Now then, I've spoken about Beta showing off a lot of emotion. So now I think it's only fair that I talk about Bam himself. It's been so long since we've seen Bam smile, and that smile was amazing. And the reunion was incredible as well. Seeing him kind of hug out Kun and Rex and, being together again like the good old days was just especially heartwarming. Especially that last panel in where we see Kun and Rex and Bam all sleeping together after a very, very hard day's work. One chapter that really made my heart sink though with Bam's character was when he was trapped and attached to that needle, and it reminded me as the reader of when Bam was kind of stuck in that pit of darkness, and Bam himself started to remember this. However, the thing I really liked about the scene as well though is the fact that it shows a lot of growth from Bam's character, in the fact that he no longer wants to wait around for someone to save him. Instead, he starts acting on his own and makes it so he can get out himself. Obviously, if Bam was back in that hole and he had the current mindset and powers he currently has now, then of course he's going to be able to not wait around for Rachel and act on his own. And this I really liked, because I love it when they call back to old things and characters reminisce about things that would have weighed them down last time but have made them stronger throughout their experiences. This was another good example. I can't say that the three of the characters of Kun, Rex and Bam fighting together against Rayfregio was nostalgic for me personally. I just didn't feel that way. However, I can certainly understand why some people would feel nostalgic while reading this fight against Rayfregio. I've personally been lucky enough to read the chapters one after the other almost, but people that grew up and read the chapter as they came out, week by week, or however it did, I can certainly understand why they would feel nostalgic. Now, I did also, while reading this, feel that it was very reminiscent of the first series, and yet it felt really fresh, because Bam was no longer the weakest link. He had a moment to shine, and so did everybody in this fight. Rex, with the strength and spear techniques that he possesses, okay, he probably wasn't the standout in this fight, but he has been an instrumental part of the workshop tournament so far. Leading up to every big moment with the team, he's been in every fight part then. He's fought against Beta, he's fought against other strong opponents. So Rex, I'm giving you a bit of a pass here, cutting you some slack, because you've done a lot. So you being a big factor in this end fight wasn't that big of a deal, the fact that your presence wasn't that much felt. But you're still good, and you still played a part. Kun showing once again his combat skills outside of the lighthouse, while displaying tons of smarts and intelligence, using one of the three grand items throughout this workshop battle arc, a dagger that stores anyone inside it if you stab them through the heart. That caught me by surprise, because yes, I was waiting for these items, but at the same time I did kind of forget about them, not gonna lie. We've only seen Endorsi use one, and since there's three, it means there's still one being alluded to. This fight also showed us that Bam has a lot more capability in terms of standing with his former teammates of Kun and Rex, or current teammates now I should say, in being able to fight side by side them, instead of being this weaker link. So I really like this because it shows a lot of progression and a lot of development from Bam's character. However, we do see he's still unable to properly handle the needle's power. And even though he's using the power at quite a powerful level, he's still only scratching the surface of the full potential. He's not even going anywhere near the full extent of what this needle can do. But this for me was very smart. It was a good choice in them doing this, as it keeps the feeling of tension and suspense whenever Bam has a fight or is facing a stronger opponent in the future, keeping him strong but not at a level of, say, a very top rank B level character or A rank character, because we don't want Bam to get too strong and too overpowered that he's going to destroy everybody. No, we want it to be a gradual build, see Bam learn and adapt his fighting style to using the needle a little bit more. The only thing I will say is though, I wish the needle would kind of disappear, but I think that's going to happen, and maybe the red guide that's aka Yuto is going to kind of teach him later on, because I think she's still with them all. Yeah, she's in the dagger. That's going to be quite funny. Rayfregio acting as this overpowered enemy that the group have to overcome in order to gain Bam's freedom. again, was another key element in showing off the strengths of the higher up of Fook, and added more impact and more kind of dread to the atmosphere and vibe the chapters gave off. We saw this character only acting as like this really smart and intelligent character, but then once it came to battle, his overwhelming presence was known. He's very skilled with Shinzu, he's got very good planning skills, and he's even able to play dirty and get to some new lows. If it's to achieve his goals, he'll do anything. And this all helps adds more layers and creates a character that basically goes along with some of the segments that we've seen him in, making him more interesting and more gripping. He dropped some decent news throughout this arc as well, and yeah, those eyes he possesses are super creepy. They creep the hell out of me. But it did raise up a very interesting plot thread about a princess of Jihad, or someone who is said to become one. However, this is only briefly mentioned, but the information given was that according to Refugio, he lost both of his eyes and his entire tribe because Yulia does not hesitate to commit such a cruel action. So this makes her already seem like a serious bad chick. Someone you don't really want to get on the wrong side of. Overall, Refugio's character was rather interesting and an enemy that kind of helped Bam grow in both a physical and a mental way. So I think his character really played a good role and highlighted some of the key elements to Fook. Yuto, aka Huayan, I think that's how you say her name, she did commit suicide? Question mark? No, of course not. That was just a really poor joke that kept going throughout this arc, and yeah. However, what this character did do was display a lot of positive actions in helping Bam and his friends. Throughout the summoning arc, she was a key fundamental character that helped Bam reunite with his friends and kind of have the team that he currently possesses. And in turn, Bam wanted to save her and kind of grow more and more close towards her. And I think this is going to play a really big role because I do believe she is still committed to Fook's goal of killing the King of Jihad. Now, bearing in mind, we have to remember that the rules of the workshop battle is that whoever wins gets Viole/Bam. Now, this team that have won, Team Kun, has now got their friend back. So, I mean, it's a win-win situation. Bam gets to be with his friends, and Fook gets someone who has the needle that has a very strong team and a team that is very capable of doing some great things. So yes, I do think she is still committed to the goal of Fook. However, she's just willing to use a method that makes Bam more likely to comply with some of the favours that she asks him, helping him by letting him climb the tower with his friends, among other things, gaining his trust and respect, before then calling in that favour of, like, you know, remember, we kind of wanted you to, like, become a god and kill the King of Jihad, so could you, like, do it now, please? And Bam, being quite kind and soft-hearted, as he probably might say, sure. Well, I know they're going to do it a lot better than that, but here we are. So she's not super good, but she's just patiently waiting. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad she's still around. I didn't want her to die. When I saw she got attacked, I was like, oh no, this is it for her. But actually, it's not. So, yay, because I really like her design. Now, it feels like a long time has passed since we've seen Endorsi fight, and her interactions with the Mad Dog was actually really good. Really, it only served to show, though, how powerful mixing blood really is. As Mad Dog is said to have, like, blood that's, like, really powerful mixed in with his own, giving him this ability and, like, the status of the strongest E rank irregular. And basically, it was able to stand up to a very young Princess of Jihad. So this obviously had a lot of weight and a lot of impact behind it, because we know how strong the Princesses of Jihad actually are. And this being on kind of like a similar level to it, got the point across. And in an effective way, to say the least. However, for this group's sake, I really do hope that and Dorsey does get her date with Bam, and she's practically gagging for it right now. That's all she was mentioning while fighting the Mad Dog. So at the same time, it does kind of make me think that Dorsey wasn't taking things that seriously. Had there not been a time limit, I'm sure she probably would have just taken her time and kind of played with him a little bit more. So maybe thinking it may not be on the same level as Princess Blood, but it certainly is a contender. Oh, and her comment about being peed off because her opponent was smiling and it was also a blonde female was totally referring to her not liking Rachel after learning about Rachel potentially, or we know she did, betray Bam and try to kill him. And Hats, please keep that outfit. You look really good in that. It really suits your character well. But yeah, I was thinking he might actually get a sword, but he's still waving that lead pipe around, so we'll have to see. Mr. Leiro was so refreshing to see in these arcs. I really did like the display of this character. We never really knew who he was until the series actually showed him there. We saw lots of kind of guards walking and running around, and we never actually knew if one of the guards was Leiro in disguise and we just didn't meant to know it yet, or if it was just some random jabroni. Now, there was one scene that I did think Leiro was in, and I might be misremembering this, but remember, before Beta went to the island, 2 members of the security group went up to the top of the roof, saw Beta sat on the roof, the area in where the party was going on, and he was talking to Viole at that point. Was one of them Leiro trying to capture Beta to stop him from going to the island? Maybe if you know, you can let me know in the comments down below. Again, I might be misremembering, but Leiro's character, I really loved the overall interactions his character had. I thought it was great. Shibisu's reaction to learning that Khun was still alive was fantastic, and it felt real to his character. It felt so in line with what we know as Shibisu, and there was quite a bit of an emotion kind of connection there as well. Now, I can't believe I almost forgot to mention her, but my girl Eon actually did something. I'm so happy the fact that she actually showed some improvement and she showed some development in using her powers. I always thought she would because they kind of gave us hints about her controlling her ability, but seeing what she did against Beta and what she did against that the guy that could eat flames, I thought was very good. Eon's character is slowly but surely progressing, and I like the progression rate they're doing with her. I'm hoping she sticks around a bit more, and as always, that little scene with her saying that she didn't know Viole could smile like that, it again alludes to some more development, but from a mental standpoint, because we know that there's still a little bit of tension between her and Viole because of the whole Fugue situation. But now that's gone, hopefully we can see some more interaction between the two. I think that'd be quite cool. And lastly, I really did like the fact that Beta kept referring to her as Viole's woman. I thought that was quite funny, and she never really rejected that statement. So, yeah, back to the normal video. Eon, you did great. Keep it up. Finally, the stuff with Emily opened up a massive amount of plot threads and avenues that this series can go down. Turning someone from a human by dissolving them into a ignition weapon was something that was very intriguing and I want to learn more about. I don't really want to see the experiments happen because it creates some complicated relationships. But at the same time, I found this whole this whole situation very fascinating. So manipulating information is a very scary thing and is a very powerful weapon. That's what they realistically wanted to do with Emily. They wanted to turn her into a weapon, and of course she was already that kind of communication device. So they can go around giving any kind of information to anyone. And wasn't there like a mention of them wanting to control people on the Archimedes who use that app? Again, I feel like that's through like giving them information and guidance that way, which is a very key resource in everyday life across the tower. The ability to have control of information and what's given and what's received could easily be a very dangerous asset to someone if it's in the wrong hands. Of course, Cassio has got the Emily kind of spirit ignition weapon thingy-majig in his little tube at the moment, So we'll have to see where that goes. That being said, I can't shake this feeling that Cassino is working for yet another organization. Someone who is not a member of Foog, nor is part of the group that Leiru is currently working for. Oh well, we'll have to wait and see how things move about forward. But I don't think this is the last time we've seen Emilia kind of be part of the story. I think this test tube is going to be very heavily thought over, and people are going to want it for their own uses. Overall, I thought it was a brilliant set of arcs. I think from an action point of view, I probably preferred the arcs prior to this one. However, from an emotional and from a character progression standpoint, I really do love these arcs. I thought they were presented much better. The art style was brilliant. One shot in particular that I really did love and I thought was awesome was the one of Rax, Bam and Khun facing off against Refugio before that happens. It just had like this epic feel behind it. The comedy was absolutely fantastic. I love it when this series does like those little not speech bubbles, but there's little words of text on the screen that tells you what the character is thinking inside, and it just makes me laugh. Like, tons of times these things have happened. There's a lot of character interactions that just made me smile, and I just loved every bit of it. But there is one character who I'm very interested and intrigued to see in the upcoming arcs, if they do make an appearance. Because she hasn't appeared since the Hand Monument was destroyed. And that was at least 6 or 7 arcs ago. And that character I'm talking about is, of course, Rachel. We may not want to see Rachel because we don't like Rachel, but at the same time, I'm curious as to what she's been doing lately. Who is she with? What is she up to? And who will interact with her first? Because the team of Season 1 now know that she is a liar and she tried to kill one of their friends. Someone who actually entered the tower only to find her, she betrayed. So it'll be a very interesting dynamic to see which character of our Season 1 cast is going to meet Rachel first after these events. Hopefully it happens soon, because this could lead to some great drama and something chaotic and crazy. Oh, one last point. Rax being able to switch between height and small mode, I thought was great. So that's all I've got to say for this video. If you've enjoyed, then make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you're new so you never miss a video from me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below, and if there's loads of information that I've missed out, because I know I probably have, because these were some big long arcs, then I may make a second video to kind of cover those. However, let's have a conversation first in the comments, let's get a discussion going, and yeah, I hope you have an amazing day. Alligator, matane, goodbye.